Hello and welcome to this conversation. I'm speaking with Banani Chakrabarty, who teaches Assamese at the Guwahati University. The reason we are having this interesting conversation with Banani is because she has recently translated into English a classic from Assamese literature, which is a biography of a celebrated Assamese who had served as one of the first native officials of the East India Company in the 19th century in what was then Assam as part of the Bengal province. That Assamese was Anundaram Dhekial Phukan. Just to give you a hint of what he was, let me mention what Assam Commissioner Henry Hopkinson had said about him in 1862. Hopkinson had said that Anundaram's intellectual position as an Assamese was what Ram Mohan Roy's was as a Bengali. And looking at his opportunities and differences between what was Bengal and Assam then, Anundaram must be regarded as even more extraordinary. The biography of that extraordinary man was published as a book in 1880 by another well known Assamese who also happened to be related to Anundaram. The biographer was Gunabhiram Barua, a noted writer, publisher. He was many things, whom some may know also as the great great grandfather, I think, of noted actor Sharmila Tagore. Without further ado, so let me begin this conversation with Bonani. So, welcome to the Wire, Bonani.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my great pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you.
Sure.
And so, first and foremost, I want to ask you what prodded you to pick up this particular book, to translate it into English?
Okay, you have said it already. Yeah, Anundaram Dhekial Phukan has so many qualities, and his biography was the first modern biography, and it was also a kind of social history of Assam, and which is more or less unknown to outside Assam. So I
Yes.
think this translation is much overdue. And when I got the chance from Osaka University to translate a non-fiction, uh, then I grabbed it because I think that this should be read by all Indians. So to understand the early colonial modernity of Assam and also about a great intellectual who stands alone, as you said earlier, like Hopkinson says, that he was all alone in this region, but in his 30 years of life, he achieved so many significance. So I think I can't do without translating this biography.
Amazing. Yeah, we're all very grateful to you for having, expanded the reader base of this biography, which till now was only for Assamese readers. So
Yes.
I want to also highlight that this book was written about this accomplished Assamese who lived a century and a half ago. Okay.
Yeah.
And also written by someone from within his family about 135 years ago. So the Assamese language has also changed quite a lot in the last 1.5 centuries. So what language wise, what were your challenges? What was it challenging?
Yeah, it is definitely challenging, and that's why I like it most translating it. Number one, that was the first modern Assamese biography, and
Hmm.
it was a time of immersing modern Assamese prose. And most of the Assamese writers were non-writers at that time. There were a very
Hmm.
few Assamese writers. Most of the time, the American Baptist missionaries were writing in Assamese. And that was a particular time when Assamese was not regarded as the recognized as the official and court language of the region. So so many things, and there was not any grammar or dictionary, standard Assamese dictionary or grammar, except for the missionary grammar and dictionary. So when Gunaviram wrote that piece, it was a kind of extraordinary effort. He sourced his phrases and words which are new revenue terms, new legal terms, the names of English officials and American Baptist missionaries. He was the first person to write these names in Assamese. He was the most of the time he was the first one. So these spellings and pronunciation based, and there's some peculiar for me because it was about more than 150 years ago time. So I have to ascertain the real names from those pronunciation based spellings. Many of the words are obsolete, and I have to transmit or transform those words for present day's reader. Most of the readers who are not very familiar with that kind of cultural milieu or linguistic milieu. So it was definitely a kind of challenge. Yeah, Gunaviram uses words from Persian, Sanskrit, Bengali, and also Sinhalese, and many more.
Yeah, so
So,
this
yeah,
is
it is a
amazing.
kind of
Yeah.
cross linguistic puzzle. Yeah, treasure hunt kind of. Yes.
So the challenges are obviously understandable. 135 years ago it was written. So, I want to ask you another thing, which I have noted in the book. In the original, you mentioned in the introduction that the names of the East India Company officials, which were posted in Assam and Calcutta, then were mentioned only in half. I mean, just by their surnames. But what I noticed that you have, however, given the full names of those officials and at times also some extra relevant information about them, the footnote, which holds up your meticulous research of those times. So can you share with our viewers how difficult was that research? Was it easy?
It was not easy, and thank you so much for noticing the research part of it. It is a kind of research because when I first read that book, because I have read it multiple times, when I read it finally for translation, then I thought that it is not making any sense, because if I give only the initial name or the surname, it doesn't mean anything, because you cannot connect it with that kind of history of that period. So I have to.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes, that's why, yeah, I have to search many documents, official documents, and then government records and books written at that time, and then some Calcutta documents and Hindu college records to ascertain the names of the teachers teaching in 1843 or 1852, that kind of thing. And I'm glad that I can give the most of the names. I think it is the correct names, and it is become more difficult because it is a pronunciation based spelling. And Gunabhiram
Yes.
many times he uses his kind of pronunciation. For example, he uses L law for raw. So Professor Lees become Professor Rees in his documents. It's such kind
Yes.
of things. Ultimately, it is a fulfilling experience when I we could locate the name in an official document. Then it's kind of eureka, I have got it, something like that. I think this kind of thing can make the reader more comfortable and more familiar with the text and that kind of history, because it is a kind of it is a history, not a kind of, it is a social history of that period. So the names should be full, and there should be some added information I
Absolutely,
can.
you've done justice to it, I must say, because
Definitely.
I am like an Assam and Northeast watcher, and for me, so many names have become clearer now as I was reading this book. This is amazing. So that's also one of the reasons why people must pick up this book. And one other thing, I was just, I have completely understand what you were talking about, Gunaviram, how he was going with these surnames only. My father is 93 years old, Assamese, and he still remembers some of the sahabs of those times, were
Yes.
looking there.
Yes.
And he also calls them by the second name, by their surname. And some of the times I have to keep asking him, who was he? There was nobody by that name. And if you really look at a little deeper, then you realize he had the Gunaviram problem too. It's like the pronunciation, and these are all new names for the generation, I
Yes.
mean,
Yes.
we're not exposed to Europeans in such numbers. So I want to ask you, this biography was also rare, in the sense that not too many books exist from the times, when we get a peep at how the Assamese society was undergoing a paradigm shift from the Ahom royal rule, to adjust to the administration of the East India Company. So this book gives that rare view of the Assamese family having some social relationships with Englishmen of the times. Did that aspect of the book was as fascinating to you as an Assamese language academic as it is to me as an Assam watcher? You obviously have said that this was also the history, it's a kind of a social history. So I want to hear it from you. How was it coming across to you as fascinating as it came to me?
Okay, more than a linguist, I consider myself as a social historian of language. So
Mm.
that social aspect and social background of a language, evolution of language is fascinating for me. So the one of the major attraction of this book is the amalgamation of all these things, the transition period in administration, in revenue, in education, and judicial system, and how these factors were influencing the evolution of the language, the recognition of the language, and the literary milieu. So this is most interesting to me. And the Anundaram Dhekial Phukan and his family, their family is an example of this transition period. They
Mm.
are the
We'll come to
first,
that. Yeah.
they're rarest of the family who could adapt to the transition seamlessly. They were with the
Mm.
Ahoms. They were with the Baptist missionaries. They were with the administration, English administration, and they are very friendly with the Calcutta intellectuals also. They are part of the Renaissance also. So
Mm.
yeah, that is
This is
one
an
point.
amazing cut that you have actually your book catches, and I found it extremely interesting as a kind of a parallel theme of the book. So what I also find extremely fascinating was this character Lakshmi Narayan Brahmachari, a
Sure.
man from South India who settled in Assam of the 19th century and adopted so many children. And one of the children's was the father of Anundaram Dhekial Phukan and also the author Gunabhiram Barua, whose descendant is the famous actress Sharmila Tagore's mother. So, will you explain that exciting part of the book here? Who he was, where exactly did he come from? The whole adoption process, etc., and also the Sharmila Tagore link, which made interest some more viewers too. I found it extremely interesting.
Okay. Yeah, this is like a movie, and I think that Lakshmi Narayan can be can be a character, a main character, protagonist of a epic movie. Okay. He is from Southwest India. I don't know much more than that because that is the only point recorded in that biography. He was from Southwest West India. He has some family problem, and he was annoyed with his family, and then he wandered with aesthetics and monks, and ultimately he settled in Assam. That is a normal thing. The peculiarity or fascinating aspect of Lakshmi Narayan began much later. When he came to Assam, he adopted six children, two of whom were relatives of Anundaram and Gunabhiram, and he got him associated with both Ahoms and East India Company. He became the custom officer in Assam Bengal border, and then he started as a trader. He owned almost 200 golas, that means stores or stores come warehouse come shop, and then he became one of the most influential figure in whole of Assam, and he
Mm.
mentored his adopted children to become traders and to become statesmen, and thus began this illustrious Dhekial Phukan family's saga. And
Mm.
as you said that one of his children was Ronoram, his son was Gunaviram, and Gunaviram's uh, granddaughter, granddaughter Ira, she was the mother of Sormila Tagore. So
Ah,
that
okay.
is
So
the
it's
link.
great,
That is the
great,
link.
great, great grandfather.
Oh yes, yes.
It was amazing. Okay, so let's now talk about Anundaram Dhekial Phukan and his greatness. Okay, that this is a man who died at age 30, which you mentioned
Mhm.
earlier, and yet accomplished so much, both professionally and for his community in Assam. He is well known for what he had done for the community. But if you have to hold up, say here, three or four important achievements of this great Assamese from the 19th century to someone outside Assam? What would those be?
One should be his literary linguistic contribution.
Absolutely.
As I mentioned earlier, that when he was alive, Assamese was not the official language of Assam. And when the ruling came in 1837, no Assamese was ready to oppose East India Company's that regulation.
Hmm.
And later, American Baptist missionary began to oppose that. But Anundaram was the first elite Assamese to,
Yes.
yeah, to say that Assamese should be the official and court language of Assam. And he did so many things in his short life for this recognition of Assamese language as the official and court language, as well as writing so many different things in Assam. He was the first one to publish an Assamese anthology, Ohomia Lorar Mitror Friends of Assam, in
Yes.
1847,
Yes.
when he was not yet 20 at the time. He published that anthology, and then he also started to write massively on Assamese, about Assamese, on Assamese literary heritage, and he also started composing an Assamese English Anglo-Assamese dictionary, which was incomplete uh, in his death. Uh, that was first major contribution, I think. And then he was a very good administrator. So he was instrumental in many colonial decisions and colonial regulations, in land settlement, in river engineering, and everything else. And another was his modern outlook. He was a philanthropist, and he encouraged Assamese youths, Assamese young persons to engage in study, and he helped them enormously. I think these were the three uh, major contributions, and more or less his outlook, his scientific outlook, his modern and inquisitive outlook, which was not very familiar with in Assam at that time. He was the only one with those outlooks. So that those were his contribution, I think.
Yeah, I must add, you talked about river management, we
Yes.
all know in Assam about the Morikolong and this river
Mhm.
Kolong near Nagaon,
Mhm.
how he
Mhm.
controlled the flooding, and then
Yes.
Morikolong still exists.
Yes.
So this is such an interesting thing, and I just want to, one other thing that I want to underline here, which came across through your fabulous translation of the book is that the book also touches upon, albeit a little, of the
Mhm.
tensions that were on the ground due to the Sepoy Mutiny.
Yes.
Rarely do we hear about what was it then in Assam, that the American missionaries had gone back home fearing attack,
Mhm.
etc. What stood out for me was also the distrust of the British officials, of the natives working for them. Anundaram was not spared either. The biography says that he was quite upset about it. Was it because he was loyal to the colonial forces, or it was his values as a person? Or what is your sense?
I think both of this.
Hmm.
I think loyalty runs in their blood, in their family's blood, because his father and grandfather, they were very loyal to the Ahoms. They are
Hmm.
very loyal to Ahoms, and they refused to join any coup attempt against them. So loyalty was his family trait. And as a person, Anandaram Dhekial Phukan was very straightforward, and he stood for integrity all his life. So uh, and and uh, he thought that English administration was the only hope for Assam's development. It
Hmm.
is, yeah, it was in his one of his classic essay, which all the Assamese have read, Englander Biboran, where
Yes.
he
Yes.
dreamed of an Assam which is like England. In he wanted to uh, turn the forest into gardens. He wanted Assamese youth to engage in trades. So it hit for him. It was the British who can only save Assam and develop Assam. So unlike Moniram Dewan and others, he didn't dream of going against the British. So he was very
Mm.
hurt when British distrust. He knew about the distrust and his the inquiry against him.
There was an inquiry against him. I think
Yes,
what
yes,
comes
there was
across to me as like he was a man who loved order, and the British that was bringing in
yes,
order.
yes, yes,
And it
yes.
was also the times just after the Muammar, rebellion and the Burmese that attack that disturbed the entire region for
Mhm,
quite some time.
mhm.
So, and
Yes.
after that, there was some sort of an
Semblance,
order
yeah,
that was
order
setting up.
and semblance. Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
maybe that was also another reason.
Yes, yes. And so you mentioned in your note, that though Anundaram's funeral didn't receive any problems, there was no problem due to his closeness to the British, but his
Mm.
son's funeral did. So would you
Yes.
throw some light on this, as it is an important marker of the times that were, when I was reading it, it just came across to me as one. I at least
Mhm.
never knew that. So I want you to throw some light on this.
Uh, Anundaram Dhekial Phukan was a very intelligent person. His funeral didn't receive any obstacle because he was very cautious about maintaining that social decorum in his life. In his biography, there are many mentions that he didn't like this, but he has to maintain this because he wanted to be a part of the society.
Hmm.
And yeah, despite his proximity with the missionaries and British officials, he never converted, and he didn't profess. He didn't try to change social change, which Gunabhiram did. In fact, he converted into Brahmonism, and he married a widow, and he wrote the first modern Assamese drama, which subject topic was widow remarriage. So Gunabhiram
Hmm.
was like that, and Anundaram's son was also like more like Gunabhiram. He
Hmm.
adhered to European custom. He ate anything and everything openly, and he was a businessman. He was not in government service, so he has to rely more on society, because so he has become something like social outcast. So that obstacles, and this same thing happened to Hemchandra Barua, another intellectual who openly says that I drink alcohol, I drink meat, all kind of meat. So his death also faced the same obstacle. And Gunaviram
Hmm.
also changed his base due to this, because he married a widow and he converted into Brahmanism. So that is the
And he
social
continued
marker.
he continued to live in Calcutta, and
Yes,
so
yes. It was a conscious
very,
decision, actually. It is a
yeah,
conscious
very
decision.
interesting. And when you talk about Hemchandra Barua, I mean, like the man who gave us the first Assamese dictionary,
Yes,
and
yes.
look what had happened to him just after his
Yes.
death.
It's
Yeah,
so sad,
yeah. So these
because
are things we as an
they couldn't
Assamese.
change the society. They couldn't change the
Mm,
society, couldn't transform the society. They became the social outcast.
mm.
After 100 years, we now understand Hemchandra Barua and Anundaram more, and we revolt. That's the
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. You're spot on. So, when Anundaram was alive, the American missionaries that you mentioned had arrived in Assam, to spread Christianity, and the proselytization process had taken off. So, what we see in the biography is that, you already mentioned that he was tolerant of all religions, was close to the East India Company officials, but was also a devout Brahmin, Assamese Brahmin. What does it say about his character? Also, throughout the book, we see a number of rituals I mean, like followed by these Assamese Brahmins of those times, which must have also set them apart from the rest of the Assamese community. It just came across to me, it was just on the face. So, I want you to throw a little bit more light on his personality, or what was he as a human being.
As a human being, I think Anandaram considered himself a family man. We
Mhm.
don't know what he believed of these rituals. He did this because he is the only son of this family, and his mother, his grandmother, and his wife, they believe in this ritual. So he did all these rituals, and I think their family's rituals are more complex than other Assamese Brahmin families, because his family had rituals from Assamese Brahmins, and also from Lakshminarayan Brahmachari's side of rituals,
Mm.
and they were very close to the Bengali and other Brahmins from Calcutta and other places. So they carried out those rituals also. That's why there are so many rituals. I don't think
Yeah.
all other Brahmin families carried out so many rituals. But yes,
Mm.
these rituals stood them apart, and I think to ascertain that he is a Hindu, he was still a Hindu. Anundaram was doing these things more than his beliefs. I think so.
Amazing. And finally, I want to ask you this question. Besides being an academic, you're also a translator and a writer. And this was, of course, an important translation work by you. So, what next can we expect from you in this literary journey?
Yeah, next is, I think, my dissertation. I wanted to turn it into a book for a long time, and actually, this biography is a byproduct of this that project, because my study area is social history of Assamese in the 19th century Assam.
Oh, wow.
So okay, so I am doing this, I am writing this, I have submitted its proposal to a few publishers. So I think this is in the pipeline. I have to do it now.
Okay. Banani Chakrabarty, thank you so much for talking to The Wire. And thank you to all the viewers for watching this interview.
Thank you so much for having me. Nice talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.